Ralph here, Insurance Agency Briefing. Today's topic, 1985, Insurance Agency in Transition, Insurance Agency in Crisis. By May of 1985, I'm 17 months in the business. I'm growing slowly, but I'm writing business and I'm kind of getting a feel for how the agency business works. My father-in-law is the president of the agency. There are 6 or 7 of us working in the business at that time. Now, my father-in-law was in his mid-50s, certain bit of uniqueness to the way he conducted business. He had a style that was all his own. I was in my late 20s. I didn't have any style, but that's okay. We were trying to make a go of it. I was wondering if we were going to be able to make a go of it, but you know what? Our handshake was this: Ralph, we'll build this up together, you and me. When it's time for me to retire, this will be yours. You'll be the successor. And I bought that. I believed in that. I know he believed in that. And that was the path, and that's what kind of sustained me. Unfortunately, in May of 1985, that changed. That night, he had a stroke. It was serious. Now, he did live. He lived a number of years longer, but he just wasn't able to work. And so he exited the business. Shortly thereafter, I became the general manager of this business with 7 employees. Now, managing the business and managing the 7 employees was new to me, but it wasn't that difficult. What was difficult is by the time we went through the books and tallied up the debt, there was $700,000 in debt that the agency had accumulated. 3 loans to insurance companies, 1 loan to a bank, and 2 loans to private individuals. It was way too much debt for a business our size to be carrying. The monthly debt service was far beyond what we could handle. In fact, 2 of the loans weren't being serviced at all. The 2 private individual loans were not being serviced at all. So throughout 1985, a lot of head scratching. What are we going to do with this business? Are we going to sell it? We're going to merge it? We're going to close it? We're going to maybe seek some sort of bankruptcy protection from the creditors and see if we can reorganize and move forward. I don't know. But the one thing I believed in as a 28-year-old, I didn't want to be starting over. And I still clung to the belief that the agency was going to be mine. We just had this hurdle, this $700,000 hurdle that we somehow had to overcome. But hey, I wanted to do it. By the end of the year, we had a proposal from our banker. His name was Otto Lindenbolt. You don't forget a name like that. Otto came to us and said, listen, I know you owe a lot of people a lot of money, none more than me. But I'll convert your loan to a non-conforming loan, meaning you don't have to pay interest, you just pay principal. But a couple of conditions. You've got to get everybody else to go along, and the principals of the business, the owners of the business, will receive no financial compensation, no salary, no benefits, no health insurance, no cars. Don't even run their Christmas cards through the company postage machine. Nothing for them. The owners agreed to that proposal. I went to the other creditors. They agreed to that proposal. Unfortunately, one of the creditors to whom we owed money was an individual, and I told that person, you're not going to get anything. There were some circumstances and a reason for that. But the point is, we restructured the debt for the business. So now we had a $700,000 debt. We had about $100,000 a year in debt service for just the principal, which meant that by 1992, 7 years later, we could have that agency debt-free. Cut expenses. We built the business up through sales. We had some good fortune in terms of rate lifting, and so we were able to get it so we could make the numbers work. 1986, 87, 88, 89, we're taking $100,000 a year off the debt. We're not adding anything new, and I can see where this business is going to turn into something. I just couldn't see how it was going to turn into something for me. Because the owners did not feel bound by my handshake agreement with my father-in-law, who was the previous president. And I understand that completely. That was something between he and me that all changed when he left the business. But unfortunately, that meant that I was probably going to have to find another way, another agency, another start, because I wasn't going to be able to get with this agency the 25% interest that I wanted. And you know what? I'm glad I didn't. Because I know now that if I had gotten 25% of that agency, I would have been happy. I'm a majority ownership guy. 64 now, I know that about myself, but I wasn't aware of that at that time. So 25% would not have been satisfactory for me, even though at the time I thought if I could own a quarter of an insurance agency, that would be fabulous. So as I conclude this video, I was pleased that we were able to get things moving in a positive direction. I could see the rainbow and what was going to happen at the end as we knocked off the final bit of principle of the last 2 or 3 years. Unfortunately, I knew that I was going to have to move on in order to realize my dream, my goal of owning my own business. We'll talk about that in another video. Thank you. Enjoyed being together today.